Okay, this is scary. I'm in front of a lot of cameras right now, and as someone who is very used to being behind the camera, um, this is quite intimidating. And that is why I want to talk about how much fear has held me back previously. And I know so many of us start there. We dream of doing something creative, but we often feel stuck because starting something just feels terrifying. And the truth is, you don't need a perfect plan to begin. You just need to take one small step and suddenly you're in motion. Welcome to the Plotcast. I'm your host Mahima, and I'm a Dubai-based photographer, creative director, and now the founder of a media production company called The Plot. I wanted a podcast where we dive into the plot of our lives, where we figure things out as we go, and we don't take things too seriously. So whether you're a creative or just a dreamer, or you're just here to hear a good story, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about those first scary moments when you step into the creative world. You know, when you're super excited to go for an opportunity, but you're also absolutely terrified because you're convinced you will fail. I'm there all the time. Trust me, even right now in this moment, it is so intimidating to be here. But I told myself, before this year ends, I need to have this done. All the way from crying after my first few shoots to hiding behind fake usernames on Instagram, I've done it all. And I feel like every great plot starts like that. For context, I started as a media student, and I also came from a home with really supportive parents who fully supported my media career. My dad would, in fact, get me really good equipment when I was just starting to find interest in these things. But even that wouldn't stop me from the fear of messing up. It actually held me back because I used to always think the equipment that I had never mattered because the kind of talent that I was always surrounded by was still so intimidating. But here's the thing about fear. It traps you in this cycle of what ifs. What if I'm not good enough? What if people are going to judge me? What if I fail? And I would be in this constant, exhausting cycle, which kept me stuck. And my biggest hack in life, I think, was thinking, okay, if I never try, I'm not going to fail. So might as well just be doing nothing. Looking back, I actually realized fear wasn't actually stopping me only from creating. It also eventually made me undervalue myself. And because I wasn't doing anything towards my passion or trying to improve myself, I never knew the potential I had. One of my very first experiences of not starting something because I was afraid was when I had this exhibition shoot as an internship, okay? And I had to obviously work in a high stress environment. So I was so scared that I wouldn't even shoot in manual mode. Neither would I push myself to shoot in auto because I thought, oh, it's so basic. And I was just stuck between doing nothing. I wouldn't even try to learn because I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna be able to switch fast. I'm not gonna be able to figure out when to change the shutter, when to change the ISO, or when to move the aperture. I would never try to get better or do something about it. Either ways, the exhibition happened, and whenever Mahima is put under the pressure, she works pretty well. As you can see right now in this situation, I have put myself under a deadline that I have to shoot this. Anyways, so talking about valuing ourselves, that's why when I started freelancing, I remember I got this job opportunity to work for a wedding. And it was a 5-hour event. And I remember quoting 600 dirhams for the entire event, including the edit. I know it sounds crazy. I know I was ruining the market back then. Everything is aware right now. But back then, I remember the client agreeing very easily, like, yeah, 100%, of course. Why wouldn't she? And I was so happy because I could not believe somebody was willing to pay that kind of money, which to me at that point was big money because I was working in a toxic job environment, wasn't getting paid anything. And I was obviously undervalued. So to me, this was big money. And, you start grabbing at any opportunity you get and you just say yes without hesitation. And I didn't even think about my time or effort or skills or what they were worth. I just wanted to feel like I was doing something. And while it feels like, okay, I did make a big mistake by underquoting, it also feels like it was a step forward somehow. It also is a reminder of how fear can convince you to actually settle for less because you don't believe you deserve more. Although now I do understand that if back then I had the right kind of community, like creative community around me, people who I could depend on, people who didn't gatekeep and would just share information about how it is to come into this industry and how it is to, talk openly about rates and clients and what to expect. It would have been so much easier. I would have actually not ruined the market. I would have actually understood where I stand. I have so much about that topic as well, but maybe that's for a later episode because, oh my God, people gatekeep so much. If we could all just share information, because when you're starting out, you don't know what what to charge. And while all this seems like a sad beginning for me, I still feel like it was a step forward because it's a reminder to me of how fear can convince us to, settle for less because you just don't believe you deserve more. Again, just for context, I was shooting 20 plus weddings a month at my full-time job at that time. So it's not like I had no skill or no portfolio. I knew it. I just didn't know how to charge, or I didn't know what I was worth outside the job because you're so used to like people not treating you right at the job, and overall your confidence and your fear is just doubling or tripling each time at this job. I think if we're talking about my journey, I eventually started posting, and this was during lockdown. And we all know COVID was like everybody's creative awakening. I was obviously confined to the four walls of my house, just stuck with a bunch of equipment, family members, the view outside my window, a bunch of products, good lighting, a camera. And I finally got to experimenting. That was my time. That was the time that I was like, okay, you know what? Here I go. I'm going to start. So I started taking pictures of things at home. Whatever I could, I would manage in that little time, work on videos, build my skill a bit. And even then, even with all of that equipment, with all of the skill and the experience I had, when I finally started to post on Instagram, I was so terrified to put my work out there with my actual username. So people who follow me from back then know this, that I had a whole other unrelated to me in any way kind of name there. And even now, if you ask me like what it meant, I'm not going to mention it. So whoever knows, it's okay. But it had no relation to me in any way. And the only reason I did this was because I didn't want people like identifying me, like who is the person behind these photos. Like I think I wanted to be like a mystery artist or something. Like I was known for my work. Like chill girl, like who did you think you are? Like, and I was so afraid, okay, people are going to judge me. People are going to talk like, oh, so now you're a photographer. It's not that deep. Nobody cares that much. Okay. If anything, they will only support you. The company that I worked at, by the way, at the time, we used to shoot a lot of events, and a lot of the content obviously belonged to the company, and it was private, so you couldn't really post a lot of it. So in this hunger for opportunities, I was just craving to shoot and post anything once I started my journey. I remember we had a model shoot and had a very amazing colleague at the time, and she was one of the main reasons I truly developed from nothing to something, because she taught me a lot, and she was so experienced, so kind, no gatekeeping. She was like the perfect energy that I needed at that time. And of course, she knew much more. So at this shoot, we were shooting a bit of fashion, and we were allowed to post this content like for our own portfolio. Like, it was something that I could share. But again, the fear, our favorite person here, the fear creeps in during the shoot. And for some reason, I can't direct the shoot. I'm not able to give instructions to the model. I'm not able to figure out or work fast in time. And you know that feeling of like, once you start feeling absolutely shit, and then it's a downward cycle from there, and you just keep going down, and then you start doubting yourself more and more. So obviously I started going blank when the model started asking me, okay, like what do you want to do next? And I wasn't able to take control of the situation. So obviously my very experienced colleague stepped in, which as she should, and just took control of the situation and directed the model, and everything went well. And I was left feeling absolutely broken, which obviously is not anybody else's fault other than mine. I was just so overwhelmed. I think the model asked me, okay, what next? It was something so small, but it's that immediate fear of like, okay, really, now what next? Do they think that I don't know enough? Is that why she asked what next? Or like, it's irrational fear. My colleague still doesn't know this, by the way. It's so funny. So whenever she listens to this, it's going to be hilarious. And I remember I went home that night and I cried my eyes out. I was so broken because I couldn't take control of a situation. That was one of the situations that still fuel me to this day. I made a pact to myself, okay, moving forward, you are going to learn. This is a learning moment. What happened now, it's okay. And we are going to learn from this. What is that fear that's holding you back? Let's work on it. Let's move forward. And it was the most calming feeling. It's like I hugged myself, I felt like I hugged the younger version of myself, and I was like, it's okay. We're gonna make this okay. Don't worry. So I started reaching out to models, makeup artists, friends for shoots, and started building and working on my portfolio heavily. And it was not just because I wanted to post content, it was just purely because I wanted to gain confidence. And I feel like all of this that I'm doing right now is just part of that journey of just wanting to be the best version of myself. So from this entire situation, what I would really say is, if you have ever had a moment that absolutely broke you, that made you feel like complete crap, it's okay. Let that sink in. soak all of that horrible feeling in and let that fuel you, because it is going to drive you for so long. I can tell you, even now, I have moments where whenever I feel absolutely lost or I can't, when you're off your game at a shoot, which is so normal, I will immediately think back of that moment and how I felt and how I want to make that version of myself more proud today. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Because if you think about it, it's actually so easy to compare yourself to others, and especially when they're ahead of you and they're more experienced. But if for a moment, if you can just think, I don't want to compare myself to anyone. I just want to make an improvement from who I was yesterday or even a minute ago to who I am right now. And that will be enough. And it's also very normal and very easy to actually compare yourself to others, especially when people are ahead of you in life, when they're the same age or, they're just so much more ahead of you. It's very, very normal. But I think just letting those moments of feeling absolutely crap are just part of learning. This whole experience, it will help you learn to appreciate growth and not just work towards perfection, but like truly work towards becoming a better version of yourself. Whenever I get stuck in the cycle of comparing myself, I'm like, okay, wait, am I doing better than what I was yesterday? If not, okay, let's work on that right now. Forget all these people. Everyone is on their own journey. You have no idea of what people are going through on their own. And that's all you need to take that one step forward towards becoming a better version of you. So as you can tell from the very little that I shared, I've had a very messy, awkward, downright embarrassing start to my creative journey. And honestly, I own it. It's okay. But here's the thing. Every single one of those moments, they taught me something. And it's making me who I am. And I'm so proud of it. If you're in a point where you're thinking, okay, I have fear, I have the drive, I want to do something, but I'm not able to get out. Here are a few things that I have done and some things which I wish I had done, which I'd like to share if you are in that same spot as I was. First of all, be hungry for opportunities. I remember during the weekends, even with my full-time job, like I said, I would take up as much as possible and I would collaborate with people and friends and family just to build my confidence. Okay, it is one thing to build your portfolio, but building your confidence, knowing what you can do, how fast you can work in an environment. And I wouldn't say take up every single thing that comes your way. Streamline it down to, okay, so now if you like shooting products, focus on product-based shoots. I used to like shooting people, so I used to take up anything with people involved in it. Mostly like weddings, events, headshots, fashion. That was my thing. So just try to work towards what your end goal is, because I think when you start, you don't really know what your end goal is, or you wouldn't know what you want to specialize in, but it's still okay to just work in that path. And just be hungry. Just be hungry for those opportunities. Take up what you can when you can. And I'm jealous of those of you who are just in that beginning phase of something, because be it anything, but that initial spark and excitement, it's like falling in love, that the honeymoon phase of like working towards a project. You don't need to create something like absolutely perfect or groundbreaking. Small, simple projects like that helps you focus on learning and experimenting without that pressure. Use what you have. Use the tools that you already have. I feel like this is something that I could have done and I haven't. Owning up to it. I used to have access to a lot of equipment, but I used to always think, oh yeah, but that photographer has this equipment and so I don't, so maybe I shouldn't even try. And I had seen my friends or people in other fields who were so much better at this. They would just work with the very minimum equipment they had and they would strive towards being better. And I think that is so amazing. So if you are like me, don't be like me. Be better. Because I don't know if you guys remember what was it called? Windows Movie Maker. I remember back in 2009 to 2010, I used to thrive on that. Every birthday, every video edit, family edit, friends, vlogs, everything was on Movie Maker. Man, what a simple time. It was so nice because we couldn't use all these high-end softwares or pay for it. And I used to love using that. And it's silly when you think about it now, but it taught me, like how to edit. That was my basics. Like that's where I started. But with everything that we have right now with us, it's so easy. Like there is actually no excuse to begin. So use what you have and just start. Honestly, CapCut, by the way, excellent. Like my next point is practice consistently. Even if it's in small amounts over a brief amount of time, it's okay. The small things actually lead up to something bigger. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you're working towards something, that's actually incredible. I feel like this is going to be controversial, I think, because I would say don't always chase perfectionism. So if you're doing this as a full-time job, obviously chase perfectionism. I don't mean it like that. But when you're starting out or when you're learning or learning the basics of something, it's okay not to chase perfectionism, because I did. And that actually did stop me for a very long time from doing anything. I would think, okay, this is not Instagram worthy. This is not something, I mean, look at what that person is posting. So I would never get to doing anything just because everything was not 100%. I would say just aim for like 80% of something and then call it a win. If you've achieved 80% of what you had intended to do, it's okay. We've done it. I feel like perfectionism is like a creative enemy. Just allow yourself to create work that's almost amazing. Even if you just reach that almost, that's okay, because each project will be a step towards improvement. Seek feedback and embrace it. I wasn't someone who would take feedback very well when I started. And it's not because I would get offended and thought I was better than anybody else. It was quite the opposite. I used to think that the very smallest things that they said was absolutely true. I would take anything and everything to heart, and I would just doubt myself immediately. And I would always look for an excuse to like stop doing what I'm doing. So don't do that. Just share your work with people you trust and family or a supportive creative community that you have. And when they start giving feedback, just take it. Take the good bits out of it and just forget the rest. Because I feel like it's hard to not feel uncomfortable at first, but it's through that constructive input that you receive from people you trust that you'll find new ways to improve. And my last and favorite point, reflect on your progress. Reflecting on your progress is, I think, the biggest motivator when you are doing something that you are afraid to do. Because when you start documenting, for me, I think, especially Instagram, I wouldn't say I'm posting to get likes or followers or any of that. I'm not that big on Instagram either, so I'm not big anyway, guys, chill. But it's just about having that documentation of, okay, what have I achieved until now? What is the kind of work that I've put out? So for me, it's like a digital documentation. So anytime I feel creatively low, which is kind of obvious, it happens all the time, I go through my own Instagram. But when I look at how far I've come, it's such a good reminder to keep going. So I review it monthly and I just remind myself of like my progress and where I can improve. One of the best things, by the way, that I used to do is like in the beginning, I wish I still do it, but you know how things get commercial and then you forget in the progress. But I remember when I started out, I had this book, and in this notebook, I used to write down every single shoot that I had newly done. So anything new that I had not done before, and I was doing it for the first time, I would write down what was that shoot about? What did I learn from this shoot? How can I improve the next time? What is something good that I did? And what is something that obviously took me pulling out my hair almost in post-production? So, because you know how we're all like, oh yeah, I'll fix that in post. Don't do that. So I'm so happy that like, you know, I still have the notebook and I still refer to it when I don't know. Like when you take up a project that you have not done in a long time, like, oh, I have the notebook, just need to open it. And I'll go through it and then I'll be like, okay, this and this is what I have to do. And this is what I've learned. So it's always like a guideline of like, okay, I have this. This is my own experience, and just documenting anything. It doesn't, just keep a small journal basically. Okay. I talk a lot. Need to get to the point. That's all. Reflecting on your journey, especially the rough ones, because obviously those are the ones that teach you the most, the worst, worst experiences. But even those, it's leading towards a bigger journey. Like I said, don't let those bad moments or those moments that made you feel absolutely horrible destroy what you have or the potential that you have. Soak all of that in and just embrace it and let that build this amazing version of you that you envision. So from this, we have learned that the creative journey, not a piece of cake, but overall a very, very fun process. It's going to be difficult. It's going to have a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, but it's going to be amazing and it's going to be worth it. So just follow that passion and baby steps. Baby steps. That's all we need to think about. Small baby steps, and you're going to get there. The key is to enjoy the process. Just learn from every experience and trust that the progress will happen gradually. It's not going to be easy, but eventually things will fall in place, and we're all learning. It's okay. Like me, even today, I'm just still learning how to be in the situation, how to speak in front of the camera in such a big setup. It's all new to me, and I'm learning and I'm pushing past that fear and self-doubt, and you should too. Thanks for tuning into the very first episode of the Plotcast. It means so much to me that you are here and listening. I hope this made a difference. Hope this brought some value to you. Hope you learned a thing or two. Please feel free to add any comments or things that might help someone else start on their creative journey, or that's something that can help me. I would love to hear from you. Drop it in the comments down below. And remember, the best stories actually come from taking chances, even when it's scary. So go out there and do it for the plot. Catch you next time. Bye.